It has now been 3 months since the day police departments had to scramble to respond to reported active shooter reports at schools all across the state.
There were 10 in all, part of a campaign of organized hoaxes likely launched from somewhere out of state. The earliest and most intense police response happened at Sanford High School, in part because officers and their commanders didn't yet know exactly what they were dealing with.
Which is why training for these kinds of things is so vital. Recently, Chris Costa had a very real taste of that training. He's here now with more. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Brian and Amanda. Imagine finding out that somebody walked into your child's school with a gun and started shooting. That fear, that panic was very real for parents in Sanford in November when a hoax call of an active shooter sent dozens of law enforcement officers rushing to the high school ready to act. That response is what we, the public, see. What we don't see is the scenarios these officers practice so that when they get the call, they are prepared to run towards danger. We got an inside look at how they train for this and why, and we want to warn you. Some of this footage could be disturbing.
I come to this school every day with the mindset that today is the day.
Inside Gray New Gloucester High School, Deputy Todd Meslin makes his rounds.
Oh, when the kids are in class, I'm typically just walking the hallways.
He's the school resource officer for the district.
I look at those kids as being my own. You know, I'm their dad when they're at school, 5 days a week.
Good, I'm glad. That's awesome.
That means keeping them out of trouble.
Because when you walk around that corner, you never know what you're going to find.
And keeping trouble out.
I'm 100% committed to keeping my school safe.
Developing that mindset starts right here. It is a simulation. Cumberland County Sheriff's Office deputies run towards the gunshots. The same way they are expected to, heaven forbid, an active shooter gets into a school.
Mask off.
It's a fear not far from the minds of Todd's students.
And they come tell me about it. They go to school with it always in the back of their mind that, something bad could happen, at any given moment. And I've had lots of kids come up to me and like, are you going to take care of us? I'm like, absolutely. This is what I'm here for.
That worry, will the officer save me, comes from intense public scrutiny of how law enforcement responded to the shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. An 18-year-old gunman got inside the school and killed 19 students and 2 teachers. It took officers more than 71 minutes to finally stop his killing spree. Cumberland County uses the report on the Uvalde shooting as an example of what they must and must not do when lives are at stake.
I was honestly heartbroken because I would like to think that that's not what I would do in that situation.
Deputy Chuck Sawyer is a former U.S. Army Ranger who served in the Airborne Division.
But out of respect to them, people don't know how they're going to respond to a stressful situation until you're put in the stressful situation.
You want me to put that on too?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So they put us to the test.
I'm going to turn my safety off now.
Sheriff Kevin Joyce invited me to this training.
Where is he? Where is he?
So I can better understand the adrenaline.
Okay.
The stress.
Where is he?
And the unpredictability.
Please, put your hands up! All right, go ahead and put it on safe. Make sure it's on safe. It's on safe.
All right, you take your mask off.
No, good job.
Okay.
Oh. Excellent job. Oh, pretty stressful, but quick.
Yeah.
So we'll walk out and debrief it.
Okay.
We're trying to inject with that stress.
What's that?
We're trying to inject
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah.
the scenario as much as possible. Because we find police officers not trained under stress will not react.
Okay.
When it's under stress, definitely.
If you practice stuff enough times, then when it actually happens to you, you don't think, you just respond.
This is one that we hope we don't ever have to respond to, though.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, it's 2022. We've been going through this for the last 20, 21 years. It's only getting worse. The one thing that's the constant with every one of these horrible things is that people said they didn't think it could happen here.
We're lucky, but we're not immune. We're not immune at all. We have the same components that all these other places had. We've just been a lot lucky, in my opinion.
So luckily, I know this building in and out, so.
Luck is not a chance a deputy, a father like Todd, is willing to take.
It's scary. You know, it's something that I think about every single day, and I think that's good. Being mentally prepared, you know, to handle a situation like worst case scenario, you know, situation is something that I have to do just to make sure that I'm going to perform the way I'm supposed to perform.
You see those kids get on the bus, and you go home, and you go, thank God today was not the day. Does that ever go through your mind or no?
It does. It does. It's definitely it's real, you know. So I do walk out every day thankful that nothing bad happened. I'm thankful today.
This issue is top of mind for Maine's congressional delegation too. Just yesterday, Senators Susan Collins and Angus King announced that they are a part of a bipartisan group that introduced a bill to prevent acts of mass violence. Brian and Amanda, that would expand the U.S. Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center. It would improve research and training in hopes of stopping these tragedies from ever happening.
I gotta tell you, when you took that helmet off, I mean, your face said it all, just the look of relief. What was it actually like to go through those halls?
Well, I mean, I have no law enforcement training. I had never held an AR-15 until that moment, and they had me go first. I had not known anything about that scenario until I walked through the door. And there's just this flood of adrenaline. You hear gunshots, you hear screaming, and you know you have to run towards the gunshots to stop the shooting. And each time you encounter someone, you don't know if they're the shooter or not, so you're kind of always on guard. I don't know if you could tell, but at one point I was breathing really, really heavily as I walked down that hallway. They actually trained the deputies to control their breathing so that they're not stressed. And then all of a sudden, you know, somebody pops out with a gun, you have to pull the trigger and stop the threat. And so once we took the helmet off, it just took me several minutes to kind of stop shaking and for my breath to kind of come back to normal.
Yeah.
It is a very, very visceral experience.
Wow. Chris, important stuff. Thank you for looking into that.
Yeah, thanks.